Alright, I'm Joshua Kemble, and this is my Vloggins. Boom. Good morning, everybody. I'm on my way to work, where I work as a full-time art director. And when I'm not working as a full-time art director, I'm also a graphic designer, an illustrator. I've been doing that for over 15 years. And when I'm not working on all of that, I'm being a dad. When I'm not being a dad to my son, although I'm always a dad to my son, when I'm not busy doing all of those things, I'm also making comics and comic books, graphic novels, cartoons, fun stuff. So I'm a cartoonist. And you can check out my work by purchasing two stories. Book one, which is a memoir about the struggle to find faith and also struggles with mental illness, as well as some childhood stories about being obsessed with Indiana Jones and Back to the Future and a lot of playground politics surrounding elementary school. And it's all connected in this really grand story, and I think you guys would enjoy it. So yeah, if you haven't yet purchased that on Amazon, you can get that for like a really discounted rate lately, which is pretty exciting. And then other than that, this is my vlog where I'll talk about just thoughts and keep myself on track for my own personal projects, because one of the hardest things as an artist, when you're kind of lost in the day-to-day, especially as a professional artist, while paying work is really fun, we all have like a story we want to tell, I think, and often like we'll forget to tell that story because we're too busy being hired to tell someone else's story. And so this is my vlog where I try to keep myself kind of accountable to that. So it's a Friday. I'm feeling pretty good. Things are optimistic. God has been good in my life, and I'm pretty excited. I get my second Moderna shot. Especially if you're watching this in the future, there was once a time, it still is plaguing a good chunk of the country, but in the U.S. there was a time where we were like some of the worst hit by COVID. We had one of the highest death tolls, and yet like we have started to recover, and people have started getting vaccinated, and what's happening is industries reopening. I just found out today that like Disneyland reopened, and that's a good sign. I remember telling a friend of mine, when Disneyland reopens, that's a good sign for recovery. And so I'm excited. I'm excited about getting my second Moderna shot on Monday. I'm excited for 2 weeks after that, being able to like socially gather with people. I'm really praying that they get a vaccine that will be suitable and will work for kids, so that my son can be protected. That's going to be interesting to navigate. But yeah, I'm just overall feeling pretty optimistic. I also had a really great conversation with Russ Leach of Only Death Can Save Us, which I need to pick up a copy of that. And so that's on my list of things to do. Tonight I'd like to pick up a copy of Only Death Can Save Us. I need to, last night during Artcasters, by the way, you can check out the Russ Leach thing on Scott Circlin's channel. But I also managed to finish the last panel of the pitch project. So the black and white part for that page is done, which means all I have left to do is coloring, which is pretty exciting. And I'm actually feeling pretty good about that happening. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm driving by like one of those crazy rock trucks. I don't think you guys will be able to see it. But basically in Southern California, there's these giant trucks that are hauling rocks, and especially on the freeway I drive very often, which is the 14. And so yeah, it's kind of a headache because it's like you're driving and you literally just get pelted with rocks. They never seal them off properly, and so you'll have like your window just go crash, and so you're probably hearing like little residue from that, like hitting my car. I'm trying to get to a spot where I'm not getting hit by them, but it's hard to know exactly where this one is coming from. Anyhow, so I'm feeling good today. I feel like things are getting done, and I'm really excited. I've talked about this a million times. There we go. There's the rock truck that's been pelting me this whole time. Pulled off to the side of the road. The dark side of me wants to be like, I hope he got a flat tire, but the light side of me is like, well, you know, everybody's got their things. But I don't know if you could hear all those tacks as it's hitting. It almost felt like you're in the trench run in Star Wars just getting hit by lasers. I will say, yeah, just feeling good, feeling optimistic. Got some good rest. Managed to get, a good art casters in, and I feel back on track. So the exciting thing is tonight, if I can, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, because there is like a crowd scene, and that might take a little longer to flat. But tonight, all I have to do is flatting, colors for that page, and then, like, the neat thing is with the style it's literally just flat color. So after that, I should be good to go, and I'm excited about that too. So I know it's nerdy, and I just said I'm excited a bunch, but I will say it's a positive day. Earlier this week, I got hit with like mild depression, and it's interesting. Like, I think that which I tend to be prone to. And what's interesting is just by pushing through it, like, my outlook is so much more optimistic, going into the weekend fairly soon. So I'm heading to work, and I'm thinking about just, once again, just how fortunate. I know I've talked about this a lot, but like, I'm feeling very blessed. I feel very good, and fortunate to be able to be an artist. Like, this is something that came up yesterday, and so this will be kind of my topic, and then I'll let you guys go, because I want to keep these vlogs sometimes long. I sometimes like to have them short, and I think on this one I'd like to just kind of reiterate something that was brought up on Artcasters last night, which I think is so important. So I am so lucky. Anyone doing creative, like graphic design, illustration for a living, we are so lucky to be able to just draw and somehow make drawings into some kind of tradable commodity that allows us to make a living. We are so fortunate to be able to, like, do art and to be able to draw and somehow make a little bit of money on it. Maybe you're not even making a living out there, but it's like, just to be able to, like, do this thing as a job is really like a blessing, and it's really pretty cool, because if you think about it, like, kids innately enjoy drawing. A lot of kids, that's their favorite activity in school, is like when they get out a piece of white paper, just blank slate, blank sheet, and kind of fill it up and make whatever they're imagining into reality. And to be able to be paid to do that, something I think we innately do, and then I think we get discouraged from doing as we get older, and people sort of belittle it as if it's like, less than like accounting or like a real job. I think, I don't know, this is my takeaway for the day, and maybe this will help you guys too. I can say this, like, there's a lot of people who stay in industry for so long, they get really burnt out and grumpy and disappointed, and stuff like that, because it's a hard industry. Like, you put your heart into things. My graphic novel is a really good example. Like, I poured my heart into this thing. I put 5 years of my life into making it. Not 5 full years, but like quite a lot of time into making that book. And it's hard to push. It's hard to sell. It's hard to hope for things that may not happen. But you need that hope, like, for things that may not happen in order to kind of proceed and make good stuff. It's like an act of faith every time you make your own personal projects and personal work. It's an act of faith when you're a commercial artist. Every time you send out a query letter to an art director, just kind of hoping that they'll pay attention and maybe hire you, or maybe give you some kind of great feedback that's going to help you level up your work. It really is a vulnerable activity, doing art and creating art. And it's very much like the little kid who's got like a piece of paper and they're pouring their soul into it a little bit. The second you put your soul into something, you risk. And so there's a lot of people around my age in the industry who've just risked and poured, and they haven't had a great life. Like, they haven't had a good return on their investment. They haven't had maybe the accolades that they want. And so, like, I meet a lot of people my age, or wait, one more thing. They have received those accolades, but they realize that, like, they've been chasing this thing and it's just not enough. Or they arrive and then they realize they never enjoyed the process of traveling to, like, their goal. And so what I find around my age is, like, you do meet a lot of artists that are burnt out. And I really hope I don't give the impression of that. Like, I have days where I'm burnt out. I have days where I'm being really myopic and not really seeing things from, like, a bird's eye view, where I'll look at what I do and be like, well, why am I only working here? Or why am I only, getting this publisher? Or why am I only blah, blah, blah? Because I'm looking at the better thing that I desire. But the weird thing is, oddly enough, even if I got the thing that I desire, a lot of the times that's not going to lead to happiness. Like, this is one of the main reasons I really am compelled and moved by what I believe. And I think it might be important for people to have faith, even if it, in something bigger than themselves. Because even if you arrive, like, quite often you're not going to be happy about the arrival. It's kind of like going on a vacation, where it's like sometimes, like, the long drive to get to the other state that you're not looking forward to because you just want to get to, like, let's say my family and I just decided to go to Yosemite or something. Quite often, like, when you get to Yosemite, it's not quite what you expected. It's not going to be exactly what you were hoping for. There might be a feeling of, like, loss, like, about a vacation, because you might have, like, built up expectations about it that just can't be fulfilled. Like, you're like, I'm going to go to Hawaii, and then I'm fulfilled. I'm just using this as an example because I'm a person who doesn't travel very much. So that's not one of the things I hedge my hopes on. But as a cartoonist, I've totally had the cartoonist moment of, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I got an Eisner? Like, I don't think any cartoonist out there who's being honest hasn't had that dream of, like, being an Eisner. Or I have, like, my dream publishers where it's like, I'd really love to put something out through Drawn and Quarterly. Like, I adore everything they do. I feel like that would validate my work, right? And so I'll have that come into mind. But the problem with that is, so what I'm getting at is, I don't think that's the right mode of thinking. Instead, what I should look at is the abundance of what I do have. Like, I have a great job doing creative work, and for some reason, they pay me to do it. How cool is that? And I'm able to make a living as an artist, and it's not always an easy living, but it is cool to be able to, like, do this thing that we do, this drawing thing. It's really cool. to be able to like do what kids naturally, innately want to do, their favorite subject most of the time in school. The thing kids want to be able to do, we're able to do. We've learned, we've done the studying, we've done the practicing, and now we're doing something really cool that that kids innately love doing. And so like, what is it that's different about people my age and kids? Like I said, they take these hits, what they perceive as hits. We stay in the industry long enough, it kind of breaks your heart a little bit. And then what ends up happening is a lot of bitterness. And so I meet people my age who are like bitter, burnt out, don't like the fact that they're artists, have gotten kind of jaded, and maybe like that might also be because they have this perception. Like, you know, when I was a kid, luckily I knew a little bit enough about the comics industry where I'm like, I'm not expecting 2 stories to like come out and blow away the world and make a bunch of money. I would love it if that happened, but it's not going to happen. It's very likely that it's not going to happen, especially when you work in books. Every novelist, everybody writes a novel, usually thinks like, this thing is so powerful, it's going to change the world. A lot of novelists, I know a lot of writers that do this. And then of course they put out the book and they see what real book sales are like for like the majority of people, and they realize that like not everybody is J.K. Rowling, right? You're not necessarily going to be like topping the charts with like your brilliant idea. There's going to be like a few people who buy your book and enjoy it. Like for most writers, that's how it goes. Most writers don't put out like a New York Times bestseller every year. The people who do are a very small group, and that's part of the reason the New York Times bestseller list is a small list. It's it's just, that's just the way it is. So if you're expecting a New York Times bestseller, then you're setting yourself up for like a huge amount of disappointment. And that's not to say you shouldn't try for it. My point is just like, as artists, we need to enjoy the little victories, and we need to look at what we have for what it actually is, in a positive way, and then shoot for the moon. Yeah, shoot for like traveling to other worlds with like your capacity, leveling up as an artist. Keep being ambitious. Like that's part of why I'm doing the 5-page pitch. Is like I'm very happy. I'm thankful that I have an awesome publisher who was willing to take the risk to put out 2 stories, and they're going to put out 2 stories book 2, and that makes me optimistic. And that there are people out there, even if it's 5 people, who are reading my comic, like that has value. Like the fact that people took their time and they're investing it in my own work is really a blessing. But I also I thought this was going to be short. I'll probably cap it pretty soon. But my point is, I'm also, just because I'm trying to value the actual things that I have, like rather than looking to other things or like these insane goals that once they're met, like, because I have met a lot of my art goals, in my career. And what I've noticed when you meet those goals is, I mean, sure, it feels great, but it's always on to the next goal. So if you had your happiness on, well, then I'll be happy, I think you're in, like, at least if you're my kind of personality. And keep in mind, I'm just speaking in generalities and speaking mostly about myself here, because I can't experience what you experience. Maybe for somebody watching this or listening, like, if maybe your goal is Disney and you get a gig for Disney and that's it, and you're happy. I haven't met a lot of Disney artists who have had that experience, but I mean, they definitely have joy if like their life goal was like to be like, say, a Disney animator, and then they get to be a Disney animator. There is like a little checkbox that you get to tick off your list that is quite fulfilling, but I don't think you're going to find all fulfillment in that. I mean, a good example is like one of the writers of Soul sort of experienced that. Like he got to direct a Pixar film, and he just thought, like, this is it. This is the pinnacle of my career. It's great. And then he realized, like, well, this doesn't make me happy. Like, it feels good, and it definitely changes his financial situation, but he wrote a lot of soul based on that experience of, like, you know, when you're pursuing your dreams and then you achieve your dreams, it's not always necessarily going to make your life better, because it's the people around you, it's the relationships. It's kind of like an abundance mindset. I know that's weird to say, but it's like, I think that looking at things with abundance, for the abundance of what you do have, is really important for contentment, for happiness. In my case, because I'm a Christian, for a good relationship with God, you have to kind of look at what you have and not necessarily what you don't have. However, keep that carrot dangling and keep trying for things. So that's where I was getting at with the 5-page pitch. So the 5-page pitch for me is like a Hail Mary, like, meaning I'm making some yardage and I appreciate how far I am on the field, right? But I do see a goal very far away that I haven't quite hit. And this book is another shot. It's another chance to, like, pass the ball and see if I can score a touchdown for a goal that's a little bit further than the one I'm at, than the ones I've achieved. You know, I think that, I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is, today I feel very in balance. I feel very positive, and that's part of why is, like, I'm actually seeing the abundance in my life. Like, I have a really good kid. I have a wife that is incredible. She's a better artist than I am, and she's been getting a lot of work this year. We're just so fortunate and lucky, and I'm lucky to have, you know, an audience, like a small YouTube audience. And it's tempting for me to, like, look down the road again without an abundance mindset and just be like, well, I only have 1,000 subscribers or whatever, instead of being like, there's 1,000 people who subscribe to my thing. If I saw 1,000 people in a room, I would think that's pretty significant. But of course it feels insignificant if I'm, like, hanging out with my buddy Scott Circlin with his, like, I think 20,000 YouTube subscribers, right? Like, so they're like, which doesn't mean I shouldn't, like, try to kind of get there and have more subscribers, but it's cool that there are people who take the time out of their day to do that and to hang out in my live streams, you know, late at night and stuff. So anyhow, that's kind of my point, is, like, I guess I hope this helps you guys. Maybe if you guys are like, part of why I wanted to talk about this is, you know, I was in a bit of a rut earlier this week, and I kind of powered through and acknowledged depressive thoughts for what they were, and kind of did the work, and am feeling like a good return from it. And so I don't know. I figure, like, if I talk about it, maybe this will help people who are similarly struggling. Sometimes I think it helps for us to look to the things we have as opposed to the things we don't. And I know that can be really hard because we're not all fortunate, we're not all blessed with as many things. A lot of us are going through struggles, like maybe our health isn't ideal, maybe we're going through mental struggles, maybe there's people out there like me who struggle with depression, and so it's like you could be riding high and just feeling great, and then you have just these dark thoughts just intrude in your life. Or maybe it's just that, like, you're going through financial difficulties. I mean, we're in a global pandemic. There's a lot of suffering out there and a lot of bad things. Maybe you've lost someone recently. I know that, like, when I lost my father at a young age, it really impacted me, and it didn't matter how many people told me to be optimistic. There was just no real outlook of that other than just sorrow and grief, which is actually an appropriate response if you lost someone. I mean, there is no, like, right or wrong response to, like, losing someone, but the point being, like, there are times where it makes sense to grieve and be in sorrow and maybe look to your loss, like, and even feel loss. Like, that's okay. But I think, at least for me, I find that quite often, with all those things aside, those caveats aside, quite often, if I'm uncontent, it's because I'm not looking at things with an abundance mindset. Looking at the people I have here rather than the people I've lost. Looking at the remaining health I have rather than the remaining health I've lost. Looking forward to the years I have left on this earth, as opposed to looking backwards and getting depressed about the years that I've lost. Looking forward and looking at the things that I have accomplished as an artist, like, rather than looking at the things I haven't. And looking at the publisher I do have rather than the ones I don't. And the audience I do have rather than the audience I don't. That helps me get in a better mindset. And I hope by sharing this it helps you. I don't know. Let me know in the comments section how you feel about the idea of an abundance mindset. The idea being, the reason it's abundance is like you're looking at things in the sense of like how abundant they are, rather than like a limited resource mindset where you're kind of like fighting on a lifeboat for space. An abundance mindset kind of turns the lifeboat strategy on its head and goes like, no, we can make room on the boat. Like there's plenty of room for everybody. Anyhow, so that's what's on my mind today. I'm going to go to work. I hope I'm not annoyingly optimistic today, but I am, like, I don't know, just extremely happy today. And one thing that also helped was just through, like, being depressed or happy, regardless, this whole week I've tried my damnedest to show up and do the work. And by doing that, that has unlocked this feeling of of abundance that I'm experiencing today. And what a blessing that is. So anyhow, totally rambling. And I know Positive Josh can be probably pretty annoying, but I hope to see you guys. Hopefully maybe tonight I can do a live stream while I'm coloring. We'll see. I mean, it may not be possible. And then this weekend's just going to be a bunch of moving, continuing to move, working in the garage to kind of make space for my relative that moved in, and then just working on art. Hopefully, my hope is by the end of the weekend, by the time I get that Moderna shot, I want to have these pitch pages out to my literary agent, being shopped out to the world for another possibility. And hey, if it doesn't get picked up, like, this is something I'm going to start making like almost like a mantra. But I'm just saying, in life I want to see beautiful failures over comfortable successes. Like, I want to see people be bold to the point where, hey, if you fail big. Like, don't play it too safe. And that's not to say, like, take your bank account and, like, put all your money from your bank into your art or whatever. But it's just that, like, be willing to put in the resources of time that you need to make the work that you really desire, and be willing to put it out there and risk it failing. That's what I mean. Because if I see something that's not much of a risk, it makes for okay art, but it's like, I'd rather see somebody, like I said, I want to see beautiful failures and epic successes. That's what I'd like to see, at least in my life. All right, guys, really appreciate you. Appreciate everybody who's hit subscribe, hit that bell. Anybody who likes and comments, just, the community that shows up on the live streams. I just really appreciate you guys. And anyone who's bought 2 stories on Amazon, it's just, it means so much to me. And not only that, it literally moved the needle earlier this week, where it got it to the top 100 for a little bit, and that made my day at the beginning of the week. So you know, I know it's nerdy, but it's just like, you guys are awesome. All right, that'll do it, and I will see you guys on the next Vloggins, or on the live stream tonight if I'm able to do it. All right, bye, guys.